All right, and we're live. Well, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lamborghini C, also known as the HR Whisperer, and I am here with a special Let's Talk Live with a very special lady who is a young entrepreneur that I know we'll learn a lot from and get a lot of insights from. So let me welcome to the stage Ciara Joy. Ciara is the owner of Obsedian Assistance. And so I want you to tell us all about your company, Ciara. As I kind of mentioned to you offline before we went live, just how proud of you that I am and how inspired I am of you pursuing your dreams and, following the entrepreneurial road. It is not easy at all, regardless of what age group that we're in. But I just, when I met you and the little bit that I learned about you from your story, it really just it touched my heart and you made my heart smile. And so I wanted to have us come together and just have a conversation, so that others could listen in. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. Now, do I call you the HR Whisperer or Lamborghini C?
Whichever, they're interchangeable. But you can call me the HR Whisperer for these purposes.
All right, all right. I'm very excited and honored, very honored to be here as well.
Oh, awesome, awesome. So I want to get into it. So first, tell us about Obsidian Assistance and like how you even got into entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. So, Obsidian Assistance is what I call my brainchild. It is my business. It is my baby. I created it from pretty much a Game of Thrones thought. If I have any fellow Thronies in the room here,
Hmm.
and I was trying to find out how to balance working during COVID with a family that was high risk, but also being a online college student. And so I
Oh,
Googled, as I'm sure many college students have, how to make money as a college student online. And freelancing kind of called to me. And one thing
okay.
that I really noticed was that virtual assistance was also really, really calling to me because I had an administrative background, I had a social media background. I just did not
Okay.
know how to translate those skills online quite yet. So I did a
Okay.
lot of research. I spent like a year researching before I implemented anything. I do not recommend that. I think if you find something that calls to you, you should research as much as you feel comfortable researching and then kind of pull the trigger. I waited
Okay.
a year and decided till I had my finances in order and bought a course that I like to say kind of helped me cheat code my way through it because I bought a course from somebody who knew exactly what to do and knew exactly how to set up the business. And that's what the course taught you was how to set up the business from all the way from your first getting your first clients to running the business and doing the VA work as well.
Okay. I love that. Like there's so many key nuggets that you said that again, like I am so proud to hear you follow these steps because some people just jump into things. They don't do the research. Like that's one. And I think it speaks to your maturity, right? And that you are truly operating in your destiny. Number two, as you mentioned that you actually paid for a course. I think, that's missed by a lot of individuals. Sometimes they just jump right out there and they don't take an opportunity to do the research or to educate themselves. And some folks don't think that they need to pay for either the mentorship or the course to learn about the subject matter that they're going into. And so again, that speaks volumes and that just sets you apart already for me. So I've just, again, you keep inspiring me. So I have to ask, like, where are you located? Like in region or general, like vicinity?
For love it or hate it, Florida. So
Oh, okay. Now, Florida. Okay, I love Florida. I'm in Michigan mostly, but which has been so rainy spring and summer season for some reason this year. But I do get down to Florida to visit. Now, what part of Florida are you
the
at?
Central Florida area, so more Orlando, Lakeland, Sanford area. So
Okay, okay.
I'm more central
Now,
than I am on the coast.
okay, now you are not just restricted to that area as it relates to your business, though, right? So you're
Mm,
located in Florida, but you operate nationally, and I would even venture to say globally, right?
mhm.
Okay, okay.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about like what types of clients you help and how you're helping your clients. And then I want to talk a little bit about your workforce, and how you're getting people.
Absolutely. So, my primary clients are thought leaders, which includes authors, podcasters, media, people in the media industry, people in the finance industry, and then health and wellness as well. I found that those are
Okay.
the three industries that I've kind of landed in helping the most. I've worked with everybody from dog walkers to real estate agents, though.
Oh, wow.
So ultimately, it just kind of depends on who needs my services. I never want to turn anybody away, but as I'm sure you know, that there are correct fits and there are not correct fits. But I
Yeah.
always, if I have to, like, I always help them find the correct person for themselves. So I like whether that's somebody within my agency or not within my agency. I have a network of VAs that I can go out to and be like, hey, they need this kind of help. They need this kind of support. Is this something anybody can help with? I'd love to interview you to see if you could help with my potential client.
Okay. So now
So,
I want to get into like what kind of, because you have such a vast array of
mhm.
clientele, right? Ranging from so many different industries. So what kinds of help are they needing?
Primarily, I find that creatives, thought leaders primarily need help on the admin side. They're great at the social media side of things, but they're terrible at the administrative side of things. We kind of spoke about this before, a little bit
Hmm.
before, and I've spoken about this in some of my networking events that you've attended. And they're phenomenal at the social media, terrible at the administration. That's primarily where me and my team come in, is to help with the admin side. That's communications, internal and external to the organization, scheduling, inbox management, things like that. And then data
Okay.
research, CRM management, project management, doing Notion build outs. If anybody else here is familiar with Notion, I absolutely adore it. So,
Okay.
and like the other people that I mentioned, people in the finance, they may be terrible at both sides, or they may want to primarily focus on one side, get that system really nailed in and dialed in, and then focus on either the social media or the administration side. Really, ultimately, just depends on where they need our help the most.
Okay. So walk me through, like, what does it look like for somebody that starts working with you in your organization?
Absolutely. So, most of the time, it starts off with a networking call. That's where I get most of my clients. It's just through networking and through my own
Yeah.
referral process. And then it goes into a get to know you call. I always have a get to know you call with somebody before I even have a discovery call with somebody. So I get
Okay.
to know their business, they get to know my business. I may make some connections for them, they may make some connections for me. Sometimes we may even have a second
Okay.
get to know you call.
I
Ultimately,
love.
it just really depends on how well we jive together and how well we work together. And I can get kind
Okay.
of get a sense for people in those getting to know you calls, whether or not they'll be a good client and a good fit for me and my agency. And then it goes
Okay.
to the discovery call, where that's really where we talk primarily about what their needs are and what they specifically need help with at this moment and what their goals are. Goals are a very big thing. We always want to focus on 3 months working together, what your 3 month goal is, what your 6 month goal is,
Mhm.
and then like 5 years down the line, your long term goals. Because that is
Okay.
our goal at Obsidian Assistance, is to help you with your goals at the end of the day. If
No,
I'm
I
not
think
making
that's
your life
awesome.
easier, I'm doing something wrong here.
Yeah, no, that I think that's awesome. I think that is really great that you're actually taking the time to help folks get focused. One of the things, I have a friend that she focuses on, her business is kind of building out SOPs and documenting processes. And she teaches all the time and kind of warns people about jumping into just hiring folks, right? When they might not really be ready, because they may not even have goals in mind of what they're trying to accomplish. And then they get frustrated with the people they've hired because they're like, oh, well, they're not, moving the ball for me. And it's like, well, you don't even have clear direction. So I'm glad that you're helping to facilitate that. So if individuals are coming to you, if they don't have those things already laid out, or even, have them up here mentally, you're helping them formulate those thoughts and ideas and manage their expectations. So I'm so, impressed that you guys are doing that. Now, where are you getting your VAs from?
Ultimately, I try to hire the right person for the job, no matter their location. So I have one other VA here in the United States that works with me, and then I have another VA out in the Philippines that works for me as well. So to me,
Okay.
and you can kind of work anywhere with anyone with the technology that we have in play today.
Okay. Now, what makes a good VA?
I think ultimately the willingness to learn. is what really separates some VAs from others, because some VAs are very set in their ways when it comes to like what softwares they're willing to work with, what
Mhm.
products and promotions and things like that of that nature that they want. Whereas other VAs are like, okay, I will use what the client is using, even if I don't know it. And that's kind of where
Okay,
we fall
good.
into play. Is if a client comes to me, for example, I had a client come to me and they had Hootsuite as their social media,
Oh, yeah.
and
I've heard that.
you recognize it. You recognize.
Yeah.
I had never worked with Hootsuite before, but I know
Oh,
that
really?
most social
Okay.
media platforms are all the same when it comes to
Mhm.
social media post schedulers. So it didn't really take me very long to figure it out. I always say, give me 15 minutes in a Google search or a YouTube search, and I can figure it out if I don't know how to do it. So I
Okay.
think the willingness to learn and be able to connect with your clients is ultimately what's going to set you apart as a VA, and it's what's going to make or break you as well.
Okay. Now I am going to put your contact information in the description once we wrap up here tonight for folks that want to come back and watch the replay or what have you. Now, are folks able to reach out to you if they're interested in becoming a VA, or how do you want us to manage that?
Absolutely. If I can help, I'm trying to help as many people as possible. So if you are a new VA or you've been in this industry for 10 years, let's talk. Let's talk.
Okay.
I'm more than willing to talk with anybody, and just to have a conversation, because you never know where a
Okay.
conversation is going to lead. They
Yep,
may
you just
teach
sparked
me
something.
something.
I met someone today that I think I need to introduce you to, because we do the VAs too, but we do offshore, mostly South America. But definitely for the U.S. folks, I think that you'd be a good connection to help connect them, too. And so
Absolutely.
yeah, so definitely. And so now I want to get into the myths. What are some myths or misconceptions about, like your industry or the services that you provide that you've come across?
I would say the biggest one, and this happens to hold quite a few people back from hiring a VA, is that we're both expensive and we're only for the bigger corporations. Me and my
Hmm.
team, we focus primarily on the little guy. If you recognize that
Oh,
reference, it's a Spider-Man reference. If you
hmm.
recognize that reference, hit me up. We're going to be great friends. But
Okay.
we want to help the smaller individuals, so like the solopreneurs, or maybe the people with like anywhere from like 1 to 10 people that they outsource to. We don't want to focus on the bigger corporations, because the bigger
Oh,
corporations can easily find help.
yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's
So
really good. And then, like, for people that are looking for VA services, how do they get in touch with you?
absolutely, you can email me, you can call me. We will have all my details information in the chat, and you can also schedule some time with me on my calendar link. I will email that over to you, because I think I missed that in my last email. And
Okay.
just feel
And I
free.
know you're on LinkedIn too,
Mhm.
so folks can find you on LinkedIn as well. Okay. And so, we heard about your journey. So I'd like to kind of hear your thoughts or ideas and perspective about being a woman, a female entrepreneur. What have been some things that have, you know, been shocking to you or surprising, or lessons that you've learned?
You have to take care of your mental health. I don't know if you're
Mhm.
aware of this, but I was hospitalized for 3 days
Oh
because of
man.
the decline that my mental health took from leaving the 9 to 5 to transferring into online entrepreneurship full time. I was actually
Oh,
hospitalized for three
goodness.
days due to a medication imbalance in my system.
Oh
And
no.
so I think that's one thing that women in particular have a harder time battling, is our mental health. And the how would I phrase this? The stigma around it is that women need to be perfect all the time, and in reality, we're not perfect all the time. We're human.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a huge
Mm-hmm.
thing that comes into play when it comes to our mental health, is this need for perfectionism, and we need to accept that we are human. We will make mistakes. And I think that's a really big thing that I always emphasize to my clients. It's not going to be an easy road in the beginning, because we're learning our communication styles together. We're learning how to hand off tasks together, as everybody has different systems and processes in place. It's not
Mm-hmm.
going to be an easy road in the beginning. If you're looking for an easy road in the beginning, this may not be the correct way for you to go.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So I want to kind of like stay along that vein and
Mhm.
ask you, like, what advice would you have for someone that may be on the fence, like on this channel, especially during this segment? I speak a lot to the people on the fence because I know there's folks that are still in their job in corporate America that peek over here and they want to go into entrepreneurship, but there's just something holding them back. What would you get, what advice could you give somebody that wants to get started but they may be a little bit nervous too?
Take that leap when you're ready. Don't do it before you're
Mm,
ready. I think that
okay.
entrepreneurship can be a very difficult road. We kind of trade at working 8 or 9 hours a day for, like, as I mentioned earlier, but offline, for working like 15, 16-hour days. And
Yeah.
ultimately, you need to take that leap when you're ready, whether it's financially ready, whether it's mentally ready. You need to feel prepared in your bones to take that leap into full time entrepreneurship. As you
Yeah.
know, I was full time and then I had to go part time to have a 9 to 5 to pay for my dog's vet bills.
Mm,
And
mm-hmm.
so I'm a big fan of saying that you never know if you're going to love or hate something till you try it. And I had never been in a traditional 9 to 5. A
Yeah.
traditional 9 to 5 is just not for me, as I come to later find out.
Yeah.
It was too, I guess, structured in a way for me.
Yeah.
So full
Yeah. And
time
I'm
entrepreneur.
glad you said that because I think that that's a stigma that people struggle with for years.
Mhm.
And I was reading a book about like what makes really great entrepreneurs. And one of the traits is that you're unhireable. And that's something that I think folks really get down on themselves about. And they think, what's wrong with me? Versus looking to see, like, okay, maybe I'm trying to pursue the wrong thing, right? And realizing that no, there's a different journey that is calling me or that I'm destined for. And so I'm glad that you mentioned that. I'm really glad that you kind of spoke to that. The other thing I want to just touch on too is a dose of reality, right?
Mhm.
Especially with someone like the MLM, like I know back in my day years ago, but now more so with social media, there's a lot of misconceptions. And I think that some people purposely put out misconceptions around entrepreneurship. And people have like the wrong thoughts or ideas. So they may jump into it and then they become disenchanted
Mhm.
because they've been shown that like I'm going to be traveling all the time, I'm never going to be working, every day is a Saturday, you know.
Mhm.
And so I'm glad, like you mentioned, like if you're transitioning from a job, you may be going from working 8 hours a day to for your business. Like the reality is, when you're initially starting out and you're in that building phase, no, like you actually may be working 16 to 20 hours a day. So just talk to us a little bit kind of about that transition and kind of the mindset to be able to keep going in that environment.
I think the biggest mindset has to be the biggest motivator in your life is what your mindset has to be. So for me, it's like I don't want to work for anybody else, first and foremost. I've always wanted to work for myself in some capacity. And I think I started out, my entrepreneurial journey started out way before I was in college. I started selling books on Facebook Marketplace to pay for car insurance because car insurance as a teenager is
Wow.
ridiculously expensive. And so I spent like a year and a half just selling off the entirety of my book collection to pay for car insurance, to actually get my driver's license and that kind of thing. So I think
Hmm.
it has to be your biggest motivator behind it, is where your mindset needs to come from. You need to know you're working towards a greater purpose. Like, for instance, I don't want to work until I'm 50 or 60. I want to retire early, and I want to retire with my loved ones early from the corporations and the jobs that they're currently in. So that's why I actually hired my mom onto my business right before I
Oh,
had to go
wow.
part time into my business. I hired
Wow.
her into it, and she's been working for me for about 3.5 months now, on and off. And she still has a nine
Okay.
to five job, but she works for me primarily on the weekend. She'll do my bookkeeping and my accounting and like connections on LinkedIn, just things that I can kind of throw her way to help her bring in an extra source of income that way.
Well, that is awesome. That is really, really awesome. So let me ask you then, how in the world is that dynamic to go from like, again, mother-daughter relationship and now essentially you're her boss?
It's an interesting transition because I have to remember she is my mother,
Mm-hmm.
and she still scares me as well. I don't think we ever get out of that kind of situation where she'll ever not scare me. But I also have to
Okay.
remember this is business. I'm working towards a larger goal, which is eventually my first and foremost goal is to retire her and my father. My grandfather's already retired. He's living his best life.
Okay.
And so both of my dad and my mom are still working, and that's what I'm working towards. And she knows that goal. And she has no problem helping me reach that goal because she doesn't want to work till she's 60 or 70 either.
Oh
So
wow.
when I give her
Yeah.
a task to do, she'll be like, okay, you need to explain it to me and you need to show it to me how it needs to get done. And then I'll do it. And then she sends me her timesheet and an invoice. And then I
Okay.
do that invoice. And it's like you would imagine any other subcontractor relationship. It's just
Mm-hmm.
she's also my mother.
Yeah.
So she still scares me, basically. That's what I'm getting at. But
Oh
it's
wow.
very amicable because we have a great relationship. There's lines in the sand that we both follow when we're in like a mother-daughter relationship versus a like subcontractor relationship. There are clear lines that we follow that I established very early on when I had her sign the contract, when I was teaching her how to do the invoicing, and I was like, this is my business, this is my baby, and this is how you need to do certain things.
How did you get so knowledgeable at such a young age?
I grew up very young. I grew up with a single mother. Most of my life,
Okay.
she worked 9 to 5. Most of the time, she worked 7 to 5. So even by the time I was getting up ready to go to the bus stop for school, she was already gone most days. So I kind of took care of myself, and I kind of learned all of this along the way just from watching her and my family. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
a very observant person,
Okay.
I'd say. So not she was just it was just life, and that was just the way that it had to be.
Wow.
So for us to keep a roof over our heads. And so like I learned how to cook, I learned how to clean, I learned how to keep the house tidy, how to do laundry at a very young age. So I've
Okay.
since I was like I want to say since I was like 12 or 14, I don't think I've ever had the mentality of a kid because I've kind of been taking care of myself and my family since then.
Wow. No, I think that is just awesome. And so I'm curious, like to date, what would you say has been your biggest challenge in business?
Oh, easily keeping up with my mental health.
Mm,
Because sometimes you forget that there are other aspects to running a business outside of running a business.
yeah.
You have to work out every day to help with your mental health. You have to actually get out of the house, especially when you're an online business owner. Getting out of the house can be like, even if it's just walking the dog. I walk the dog 3 or 4 times a
Mhm.
day just to get out the house in between meetings.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
vitamin
Yeah,
D.
I'm bad at that. I'm bad at that.
But
Sometimes
taking
I'm
care of
in
your
here
mental health.
hibernating. No, I think that's good that you have set up a routine and you've recognized the things you need to put in place to be able to help you, because
Mhm.
it makes all the difference. So I'm curious because in this environment and day and age that we're in with social media and a lot of folks that are influenced by social media, like do you feel pressure or like influence that like I need to achieve, certain goals or things like that as a result of like, social media nowadays?
I follow something called the 12-week year. I can't remember. It's a phenomenal book. Are you familiar with it?
Yes.
I
Yes.
can't think of the author name for the life of me. I'm blanking on the author name. I want to say it's Brian Morgan or something. I'm not entirely positive though, so don't quote me on that.
Okay. Okay.
Follows a 12-week year. So whenever I'm put in new habits in place that I want to follow, I always start off very small, kind of like Atomic Habits talks about, and I always attach them on to other habits. So when I was starting to do social media, I set a goal that I would post at least 3 times a week on social media in the very beginning when I first started the 12-week year. And then that slowly changed from 4 times a week to 5 times a week, slowly increasing that until I'm at a point where I'm now posting every day on social media for myself and for some of my clients even. Obviously,
Okay.
weekends, I don't work weekends. I'm a huge advocate for taking time to
Mhm.
yourself. Even though I say I'm working 16 hours days, take that time for yourself. It'll do mucho good for your sanity, to say the least. But
Yeah.
I think environment on social media can be quite toxic. So I'm always trying to post good, funny,
Mm-hmm.
relatable things for people. And whether that's on my personal brand, which is the Ciara Joy, or on Obsedian Assistance, I'm always trying to educate. That's always my end all be all goal, is to educate people, whether that's
No,
showing
that's
them their
awesome.
latest Notion tips or entrepreneurial tips that I've learned over the years. I just want to help as many people as possible. So even if I reach like a fourth of my audience with that specific post, or sometimes it's even a fifth of my audience, I know that post will have impacted someone. And toxicity around social media is one of the things I hate about social media, because
Yeah.
we were speaking to earlier, is that entrepreneurship is hard, especially in the beginning. You're not getting those like vacations, or you're not getting dollar bills in the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult, and that's kind of romanticized on social media, as I would say.
Yeah. Well, and some people are just lying, right? Let's be
Mhm,
honest. Some people have a rented lifestyle, but that has shifted, right?
mhm,
Like there's certain trends and things. And just like to go back, so yes, that book is by Brian P. Moran, The 12-Week Year, if you guys want to check it out. But there's been a shift over the last year with social media, even here on YouTube,
mhm.
where people are valuing authenticity.
Authenticity.
And so I think that folks are starting to see that the folks that have the nice polished videos and things, they're not doing so well. People are gravitating more toward like the live videos, the real life footage. They want to see the grit and the grime in it. And so I think that that's good, because that, encourages me that maybe we're kind of moving in the right direction with getting a little bit closer back to reality. But you're right. Like one of the things, and especially like in my day and age, look back in the day, way back, when I was like in my 20s, I actually, when I was in college, like I was in an MLM. And so it was a great experience for me as it relates to learning how to manifest things and really doing a lot of self development and reading like a lot of great books and things like that. But one of the things that they kind of preach is that, this whole shiny lifestyle of every day is a Saturday. And I realize as an entrepreneur now, I kind of laugh to myself, that every day is a Saturday, because yeah, sometimes I really am working on Saturday. So yeah, every day is a Saturday, right? But with the working, like when you talk about the hours, the reality is it is a little bit different than like working, at a job per se, because you're working towards your dream. And
Mhm,
hopefully you love your business and you're in a field that you really enjoy and love. So again, the saying, I know it sounds cliche, that like it really doesn't feel like work, but sometimes like really it does not. And the work can look different. Like I've had I didn't jump out of the corporate space. I spent 20 years before I, you know, went ahead and kind of separated myself. But so I've had to go through this unwinding. So I think it's so great that like, early in your career, like you understood what your destiny was and you've gone toward it. Cause I've had to unwind some of the learnings that I learned from like the work environment and corporate space, as well as unlearn some of the things that help me have success in that world,
mhm,
because they're just not transferable to success in entrepreneurship. And so, one of the things is just, like how I work, right? Not being stuck to a particular time frame, but knowing that I can work whenever. And so, I always had a good hold on, I call it work life integration. I
mhm.
don't, agree with work life balance, because I think folks set themselves up for frustration, because then they get frustrated. I don't have the balance. But if you think of it from the perspective of work life integration, I think it's easier to digest. And sometimes I do travel. I'm starting to, again, at a point where now I can actually separate or take time away. But yeah, the last few years, like I have traveled, while I'm working, but like again, I've built a business that's mobile, that I can do anywhere. And so that's been important for me. Like you talk about mental health, because sometimes I've needed to get down and out of the office, to Florida, like where you are, where the sun is and the water, and that does so much for me, and sometimes I'm even more productive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, again, everything that you shared this evening, like those are nuggets that folks should grab onto and, and just consider and try to implement into their life. So I do want to, like, before we kind of jump off here and end, like, what's one thing that you want people to know about you?
I am a personally, just a little personal nugget here. I am a
Okay.
die-hard romantasy girly, so I love romance, I love fantasy. I have my
Okay.
little stuffed animal that my mom got me this weekend, as kind of like a welcome home back from the hospital type gift of my
Oh,
favorite dragon ever named Toothless. I'm a
I
die-hard
have to ask, are you
girly.
a Pisces, by the way?
No, I'm a Scorpio actually.
Oh, okay, okay. Because when you're sitting there talking about the romance, okay. Well, that's interesting. Okay.
And then professionally, I would say I just want to help as many people as possible.
Oh, that's
So
good.
I think if you found any value here, definitely sign up for a one-to-one with me, and I will show you the entire back end of my business if I think it could help you, because that's just the type of person that I am. And I think that that's really big, and there's not many people who genuinely want to do that anymore. And
Yeah.
I've met some really great people, and I've met some really not so great people networking. And like, you're one of the most amazing people that I've met networking. So I jumped on this opportunity.
Oh
I was
my
like,
God,
yes,
you're gonna make me cry.
no, we
But
can't do that. Remember, we promised to have our mental breakdowns after the
yeah,
show.
that's true. That's true. We have to hold it. But no, I feel the same way. Like I saw your light, and like I mentioned, it really just it warmed my heart to see you going after your dreams, and just you're just such a nice, bright young lady, and really warm and authentic, right? And so, definitely we're gonna have to get together after this too, because I think that there's definitely opportunities for us to help each other, and I want to help you any way that I can.
Hmm.
Um, as well. And so, and I think this is a testament to, like, we talked about this offline, because, like, when, I heard you share that you were in the virtual assistant space, although that's a component of, my business. I want to encourage people, especially in today. I was just talking to a friend who, um, I'm telling you, this year, like, she is a bright young lady, and she's someone that, again, we connected, and on a spiritual level connected. She's a really great person, but she's gone through a couple of iterations where folks have gotten close to her and then tried to steal her ideas, right, with
Hmm.
business and things like that. And I think that folks that are doing those things, they're operating from a scarcity mindset. We
Hmm.
can do more together, right? And what's for you is for you. And so you don't have to, like, get intimidated because someone may be in a similar field as you, or there might be some overlap or crossover. Look for the synergies and see where you guys might be able to help benefit each other, or partner together, so that maybe you can have, help a massive client or something like that. And especially with women, like with the girl power, right?
Yeah.
I think it just, again, like, I encourage people to begin to challenge themselves to operate from that vein, because more is going to come to you. When you are operating from the vantage point of wanting to help people and wanting to give, like, again, you're going to attract that to you,
Hmm.
right? And life is going to be so much better. So, for sure. So, any last things that you want to share as we wrap up?
Just believe in yourself. That's the biggest piece of advice. And I think that's why it took me so long to hop on this train of entrepreneurship and starting my own business. You just have to believe in yourself and believe that you can do it at the end of the day, because the people around you believe that you can do it. In fact, they know you can do it. It's only truly
Hmm.
happening in your head if you don't believe in yourself. So
No, I think that's awesome.
that would
No,
be
I
my
think that.
apologies. I interrupted you, my bad.
No, I was just saying, I think that's awesome. That's awesome advice that you're sharing.
Hmm. Exactly. And you got to hear it more. You know that I believe in you, we believe in each other, and I'm here for anybody who ever needs my support.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we're going to end on that note, guys. And like I mentioned, we'll have Ciara's contact information, her website, and reach out to her for sure. She is a dynamic young lady, someone to watch. And like I said, we're going to be meeting and getting together. I already have some folks that I'm like, I need to connect you with and get before you. And so I wish you much success. Thank you for joining me over here on my channel. And like I said, we're going to be in touch. So thank you,
Absolutely.
Ciara.
It was a pleasure, and thank you for having me. I'm wishing you all the
Absolutely.
best.
Absolutely. All right. I'll talk with you soon. Bye.